Oh, happy Friday, everybody, and we get to react to a Philadelphia Eagles game last night. I know it was just the preseason, but they get a nice preseason victory, 34-27 behind the arm of Tanner McKee, and there was a lot to like in that football game. We'll get to some of the things that we don't like, but we're going to start it with the positive because we got Ricky Bowe in the house today. We got Birds Insider, Mr. Football himself, AD Andrew DeCecco for the whole show, Silvana Kelleher behind the glass. It was nice to sit down last night and watch some football, wasn't it?
Who are you calling positive?
Oh, Ricky's not positive today.
I was going to say, what's up, party people? Everybody good?
Everybody's going to start with the positives.
I'm good. You might as well start with the positives. Yeah, it was it actually felt good to even see the kickoff last night. That's where I was. I was at McGurk's up in wherever I was, up in
watching some football,
Fort
baby.
Washington, watching some football with some peeps. It was a good time.
You know how I watched that game last night?
In your dungeon?
In my basement, 100% completely alone, and I loved every second.
Yellow line.
That's the
notebook.
way.
Yellow notepad. I could show it to you right here. And Rick and our man AD, he was at Lincoln Financial Field. What was it? 7 a.m. yesterday morning, waiting for kickoff.
You saw a picture at like 4 p.m., right?
You did send out a picture.
You guys both like retweeted it at the same time. I'm like, oh, these guys are probably mocking me on the air.
I loved it, man. I loved it. But we're going to get into all of our observations today because there was a lot of good, but there was also some questions raised. There were questions about certain positions, cornerback, safety, where we already had questions going in, and those questions weren't answered. They were actually raising even more questions. But we're going to try to keep it with the positive to start. And maybe the coolest thing of the night was the first touchdown that the Philadelphia Eagles had of the 2025 season. It was like poetry. Was the tush push. And this is what it sounded like.
4th down and goal. The push is on. And into the end zone for the touchdown. The system works.
How awesome was that? The first touchdown's a tush push, baby.
By the way, you know who was on defense trying to rip McKee's helmet off? Didn't you see this? Orrin Burks.
Nuh-uh, really?
Yes, he was. He, obviously, when you're on the other side of it, you try to figure out ways. If you're ever, on the defensive end of that, how do you stop it? And the only thing you could grab is usually their helmet. If you watch him, he literally went after McKee's helmet and tried to pull him back.
I was going to guess Orrin Burks. I'm like, nah, that doesn't sound like something he would do.
It was him.
Orrin Burks. Hey, played a big role in us having a Super Bowl, so good to see him doing well, I guess. But let's look at some of our general reactions. Before we dive deep into the positions, I will say what I loved so much that was on full display last night is how close of a team this is. Like when you looked, Andrew, and I think you may have even tweeted something out about this.
I did, yeah.
You look at the stars who didn't play because Hurts didn't play, A.J., Devontae, and a lot of the known starters on offense, with the exception of Tyler Steen, did not play.
And Jahan Dotson.
These guys were into it, though. I mean, they were into it, and I think what you tweeted, they were actually helping Ainias, right? Ainias Smith.
Yeah, well, you couldn't help but notice it from where I was sitting, and you don't often see teams that have leaders like the Eagles do that are fired up and engaged and involved in the younger players going out there. And he mentioned that A.J. and Devontae were in his ear, and they were giving him tips, and he just mentioned how much he appreciated that. And tipped their hat. He said, they're the veterans of our room. So I thought that, and Jalen Carter, by the way, Jalen Carter was fired up. He was waving towels, and he was locked in. And you don't often see that. Sometimes on other teams, guys are looking off, they're disinterested, but no, not these guys.
Hell yeah.
In week 3, are they going to be the same? Or
Well,
is that just one of those things where you're just looking to get to the season?
No, I think they'll still be engaged.
I like the fire. You know what? It's a game. I mean, you got to think about this. They've been practicing out in the heat. You've been out in the heat with them.
Yeah.
And then, actually, you have too. But, I mean, when you really think about it, they have to have this fire burning in their guts.
And what I like even more about it is you're right. They're excited it's a game, but you could see how much they support one another. Like,
as well they should.
Yeah, they are out there really trying to make everybody else better, and they're encouraging them. Like, that is the sign of a really good team, and that's something we've talked about in the past with what Sirianni's really good at. When people ask, oh, what does Sirianni do? This guy builds a good, strong team. I know in
Culture,
23,
man.
23 things didn't end the right way, and people are saying, oh, he lost the team. When you look at the big picture, the 4 years he's been here and now entering his 5th season, he's had a pretty united, strong team and a strong culture for a majority of that outside of those 6 games in 23.
Yeah, I even go back to last preseason. I don't know why I remember this as sort of a footnote, but there was a back end of the roster wide receiver, Joseph Nagata, and he caught a big pass, and he was fighting for yards. And right there on the sideline cheering him on was A.J. Brown. And I think that might have been game 2 or even game 3 of the preseason. So these guys are locked in, and they support one another. And it's something that you see not only from game 1 of the regular season, that is through training camp and the preseason. I can't speak to a lot of other teams because obviously I don't cover other teams. I cover the Eagles, but it seems like it's unique compared to what we've seen, in years past.
And I remember us having this conversation, too, before with Zach Bond, talking about how he wasn't going to withhold information from these young linebackers on this team. And you got to give a lot of credit to a couple guys who aren't here anymore, Jason Kelsey, Brandon Graham, because I think they helped usher in this type of mentality, and it's continued with Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata is another one. They're not going to withhold information because you're coming for their job. They want the team to be better, and that starts at the top and it trickles down. And I think Howie Roseman, in addition to Sirianni, Howie Roseman has done a nice job of bringing in players who kind of share that mentality.
But he's also paid these guys. So they are happy and they are willing to help out the younger guys. Obviously, you go out, you get a contract. Aren't you more willing to help the younger players, make their way up? I think you would be.
So here's an interesting story, and I wrote about this player, Shunderick Powell. He's an undrafted rookie running back. And he shared with me that he'll send Will Shipley a text message about what can I do to get better, or how can I refine this area of my game. And Will Shipley and him, they'll reconvene, and they'll go to the running backs room, they'll have a meeting, and Will is showing him how to watch film. Saquon Barkley, he also said, those guys have been 2 primary resources for him. Yeah. So now you're seeing it throughout. That's just another example. And he was beaming when he was talking about it and how much he really appreciated it.
I love it. And I don't think that you can overstate how important that strong culture is with the length of an NFL season and how all these guys at one time or another, you're going to ask a younger guy to step up. And it's a great culture that they have here in Philadelphia. And a lot of it was on full display last night. They win the game 34-27. No one necessarily cares unless you bet on it about the final result. But what we do care about are the individual positions and what we learned about certain players. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at each individual position group and what we learned last night with those positions. And who better to be here than my man Andrew DeCecco to really break this all down. And we're going to start with the quarterback. Because we got to give Tanner McKee his flowers because once again, he showed up. And this was not a surprise to anyone who's been paying attention. I know Andrew has said this before. I saw it firsthand down at training camp. You got to see it last year when McKee came in. It should not have been a surprise that Tanner McKee performed at this level. But coming up, we're going to talk about Tanner McKee. We'll hear from Nick Sirianni on Tanner McKee's performance. And we'll also hear from Tanner McKee himself about the relationship he's developed with Jalen Hurts. A lot on the table today here on Unfiltered. 97.5 The Fanatic, NBC Sports Philadelphia.